All right, welcome. Let's get to it. Let's do some Q&A. So,
Yes.
Joe here will be looking at the questions.
Yeah. I'm looking to
Grilling me.
see if we have any so far. I don't. It looks like they trying to be quiet right now, Jeff. They're probably building up a really big one.
Mhm.
That's probably what it is.
Oh, there looks like there's some.
Oh, that's something. Okay, hold on. Let's see here. Give me a second, y'all. I gotta catch up here. I gotta catch up. My eyes ain't the same as they used to be. All right, let's see. Okay, we got one for the vision, with your vision for Bremerton. Okay, well, that's a good one. What are you guys going for Bremerton, man? What is your vision for?
What's the vision for the city? Yeah, absolutely. So, what I really envision with Bremerton. So, first of all, we have an amazing city here, right?
Yeah.
We have really great bones. It is rare to have a city with what is a stable employer in the shipyard, right? Hires a lot of people. As I said, my husband works at the shipyard, but that means that historically, when you have seen big recessions in the past, I mean, all the way back to Great Recession in 2008, Bremerton has been pretty stable.
Yeah.
So we've got a good stable base. We have a thriving arts community here that has just been trying to grow and hit some barriers, right? But we have amazing artists on the ground who want to do so much good. So we have our own thing. We've got a number of small businesses that some are getting there, some are struggling, right? We got work to do, but amazing community of small business owners that are ready to go. So we have said bye-bye to the big box stores of the 80s and 90s, right? Yeah, those all left with Silver Day on the Mall, in my opinion, bye-bye. We have our awesome small business here that are trying to open, make Bremerton its own thing. We have, of course, our connection to Seattle, to the Olympic Mountains, the Greater Peninsula. We are the biggest city in the county. So what I see are all these great bones that we have. And we have a community that folks walk down the street, they know their neighbors, they get to see them. So my vision is we really tap in to what is this amazing potential in our city, these good bones, and we grow it for the folks that are living here. So we make sure to keep that sense of community that makes Bremerton special. I want to see us more connected physically. Look at our street network. We have work to do so that folks can get wherever they're going, whether it's
mobility is big,
right? Mobility that. Yeah, a lot of people own cars, so we have our streets we need to maintain. But a lot of people don't, and more do they, right? I have my family has one car and two bikes.
Yeah.
Right. And are and be able to walk as well. So we right. That's right. Yeah, Mac and strolling.
He's got the best run.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So so it's connecting that physically. It's making sure we're thinking out 10, 20 years. How do we fill in all these gaps for folks to be able to get where they're going safely? Yeah. We have some roads where I will daringly ride my bike, but not Max when he's 10 ride his bike on it, right? So I want to see it so that you can I always say hike and bike, roll and stroll, whatever your mode of transit, get where you're going in the city. I have a vision that our downtown, which has such amazing potential, we finally fill those empty buildings that are still a quarter vacant, that we make it easy to start a small business in Bremerton, that permitting is not a hurdle. We also tap into the amazing Charleston-Callow area, which is really up and coming, huge small business community there. You have Manette as another long-term business community. We have Harrison Heights that has a lot of potential with a lot of vacant buildings from the old hospital area. We get that going. And really what it comes down to is a city where everyone also feels like they belong. So not only we're connected physically by our roads and streets, by our businesses, by our community places, but we're also connected with each other. And that's where I see a lot lacking in the city right now, that we could have better communication from the city on what opportunities there are here for people, what resources we have, and what people can really do to help out their community and get involved in the city as well.
I agree, man. Like I myself personally have some really cool events coming up for next year. I got Strands of Spring I'm working on, which is a event that brings culture and community together to help push the narrative of we're all one race, right? Yep. It's just it's human race, right? And then we all separated by our cultures and different things. But Also, I got the Bremerton Tea Party I'm looking at bringing. That's something I think is gonna be really cool. You know, yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like the Boston Tea Party, but not all the destruction. So it's all about having, like, again, getting our community, because you had said before, you're like, man, I would really love to be able to connect with the other mayors and the other leaders and be able to work on some of the problems that we're all having together and actually make that into one, you know, get us a chance and an opportunity to do that. This may be that opportunity where, you know, you can sit down and have a little mingling time and get to, present some of that to each other. You know, I'm working on some other cool venues, you know, a venue that I'm working on to really, like, so going into the small business as well. Like, you already know, I have the small business.
Yeah, right.
I've been doing that for years, but in my family is
your successes and your struggles, right? Yeah. Anything run a small business.
Yes, yes. And that is 100% the backbone. That was literally one of the conversations I was having with one of my clients today. They were talking, or was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. They were talking about again, an avid supporter of you. Actually, they were very big, like, yes, Jeff. And they were saying that one of our big problems is that we don't have a lot of the necessities that we need to be able to get those small businesses. And then even with me wanting to venture out into some of the other things I'm looking to do, it's not as easy right now. But I definitely feel like with you in the office, we'll have a chance to truly get a change in this community, where people like myself, small business owners that are looking to scale, other people that have never opened a business before, getting the education for financial literacy, business literacy that they're going to need to really succeed. And the opportunities are going to be there. One of the things I really, really liked a lot that you had said the last time was the idea that you had got from where you
Tacoma. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is, and then we'll get some more questions.
Yes.
But yeah, this goes back to I see our city right now currently operating so siloed, right?
Yeah.
Not looking at the best practice in other cities. It's always my first go-to. It's like, rarely are we facing something that no other city has faced. And when it comes to small business startups making it easy, that's where I go back. City of Tacoma had an amazing program where they just their city manager down there made sure that on Friday mornings the building inspector had their calendar blocked off, the permitting office, the fire marshal. Everybody that you need to open a small business from the city side is there, and they would meet with a building owner and a potential building leasee, and so then they advertise and say, hey, you want to start a small business, before you sign a lease, come, we'll meet with you, and that way they can make sure that the business idea, the zoning's right, the code's in place, that the building's up to code, and they said they walk out of there with the whole checklist, and they say, either, oh man, sorry that you can't do this chicken factory downtown. It's not, not zoned for that. Okay. And thank goodness you knew that before you signed a lease, right? Waste money. But more realistically, it's like, okay, cool, you're good to go this business here, but the building needs these kind of renovations. These are probably the type of costs you're looking at for you to work out with the building owner. And then this is the process, and this is a checklist. And if you do A through Z, you're good to go. And they said, man, they got businesses opening quickly. It was streamlined, it was easy. And they stopped having situations where somebody went to open a small business and they found out they couldn't, or they were months and months and months of red tape where they were having to do payroll, pay rent, and they couldn't actually open. So, so that's a big one. All right, so what other questions?
Okay. So we have Angela that just stepped in there. Hello, Angela. How you doing? What's up? She's asking, what is the status of the homeless shelter? Oh, that's a good.
Yeah. So as you know, the city decided to work and have our collection of nonprofits take the lead. So this is Bremerton Housing Authority, Experts in Housing, Kids Up Community Resources, Kids Up Mental Health, St. Vincent de Paul, others joining as well. Counties at the table. So it's a big coalition of folks. So the status is that they have secured a property. So it is basically just north of the Warren Bridge, north of the east of it. It's 5 acres of land. That they were able to get. It took a while to get it, but they were able to get it at a significant discount, which was great because we don't have unlimited dollars. Right. So the city, we kicked in about 1.3 million of funds that we had from ARPA, from the federal government, and a little bit of our own city. They were amazing because they are experts in this field. They're experts at getting money to do big things. they have secured a lot of extra money from the state, from the county. They're looking federally again as well. And so they are closing on the purchase of that site, and then they're ready to go and start building. And their vision is, and they've done a lot of outreach on this model, right? Because the main key thing for folks, in the surrounding area to know is this is not picking up what we have currently with Salvation Army and putting it in a different part of the city, right? This is an entirely new model that other cities have found to be both successful and truly, when it comes to taxpayer dollars, effective and actually helping folks get out of homelessness and addressing the needs that we have.
Big time.
Yeah. And so this work it's never quick. It never happens overnight, but I'm glad that the right people who have the expertise to do this are leading the way. Yeah. And we as a city just need to support them and help them expedite wherever we can and make sure that the city's not in the way of getting this built.
That's a big thing, for sure, because the more people in front of the movement is in trying to halt it, or I was always taught, either you're a part of the solution or you're a part of the problem, and I think not just as the city leaders and the people that are also on this program, on this project that are leading, but again, the city are the people, us, actually being a part of this and actually wanting to be what we can donate time to come and help put things together or whatever. We're not, we can't just sit there and say that we want to see change, but we're not willing to step up and make something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They said to say, make sure you say hi to Tommy after this answer and to slow down a little.
Got that. Not good. I get it. I get excited about this stuff. Yeah. I get excited because there can be some really big things in the works to help people out in Bremerton, to help people in this city. And I get excited when I see that happening and knowing that I can help make that happen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, big hi to Tommy of Tommy's Story Hour, who is speaking of helping people out, a champion for adults with disabilities. For folks who don't know Tommy, when a county program went away to help adults with disabilities to meet up, he stepped in, started that out of his own apartment. It has grown. That's an example of being able to do big things, and you just start. And if it starts small, and the need is there, it can grow. So Tommy is an inspiration for there was a need in the community for programming for adults with disabilities. Tommy stepped up and he's getting it done.
Hell yeah.
And we as a city just need to support things like that.
Hell yeah. Tommy, I think I'm gonna have to get you on the show next, man. That's what I'm hearing right now.
I think Tommy needs to be on What's Cracking Kids at.
Sure, yeah. You need to be on What's Cracking Kids at, Tommy, all right? And we have get elected. If you get elected mayor of Bremerton, what can you do about the? Let me say, y'all, my eyes aren't the best right now. I want to say Initial Creek area. Anti Creek area. Bremerton's Marathon. I want to say committee had a lot of runs going on. Trenton and there were no safety on. Oh wow! Oh, no safeties on these sides. What can you do to help this? Okay, so there's a marathon that was going on.
Okay,
there wasn't much safety protocols that were being met.
Okay,
for the people that were running. That's very serious.
Yeah.
Those, I don't know if Deanne's in here right now, but my lady that will she does marathons, and that's not for me.
I did a half marathon once in my 20s, and I was good. I did a half on that.
Yeah, I can do it.
So this is a big priority of mine is safe streets, smart streets. And I remember when I was running for city council. Myself and the other awesome folks who were running for council at the time. Again, I wish we had more slots. Great people. And we were having a beer in the middle of the campaign and tagging up, and we were asking each other, "Hey, what are you hearing at the doors? What are you hearing top priorities?" And something that always come to mind, I'll never forget, is potholes on Perry. There's too many potholes on Perry. And so now 4 years later, we got a project done to repave Perry to fix it up. And now the problem is speeding on Perry. And that's potholes were acting as a way to kind of slow down cars. But the same thing is with Trenton. There's a lot of speeding on Trenton, and they're straight shots, they're downhill, and there are roads like this all over the city that they're straight, they feel like highways, and so human nature is to drive fast. And we have a large lack of sidewalks in the city. And so for when you're running, you're out there on the roads, and absolutely it's not safe. And what I want to do is a lot of other cities have done, which is to do smart, what's called traffic calming methods. So speed bumps are the old school, been used forever. Speed bumps, speed humps that obviously can slow folks down.
Get past that.
Right, yeah. But sometimes that's rough because they've made progress so that there are types of speed bumps and speed humps you can do for emergency vehicles, but there are restrictions. The thing goes to think beyond that. And so a lot of other cities have done things like where they get these temporary planter boxes. And there's a whole company called Zebra out there that makes these things for cities. And so they're a planter box that you could say periodically put in the center of the road or on the side of the road. And it not only looks pretty visually as you're driving, you see that you naturally slow down, right? It makes it impossible to be a drag strip. There's also things called bump outs on the side of the road. So you periodically narrow the road. And so it really goes to that human psychology where if you're driving something like Traston Boulevard, right, and it's windy, you can't see around corners, you as a human naturally drive slow. When you have those long straight roads, your inclination is to drive fast. So by doing these smart traffic safety calming measures, you can actually get cars to slow down, and it makes it safer for pedestrians, for folks biking. And this is where I get frustrated. Why I'm running is 2 years now, me and other colleagues on council and the Public Works Committee have been asking for an updated policy to be able to implement these. And 2 years now, mayor and administration have not delivered it. And last we got an update that they're planning to hopefully get it by the end of the year. But this is something where it's a low lift to get the policy in place. These are cheap things that we can buy and try out. And it goes back to this my philosophy of, yeah, you could plan some major road overhaul that's going to take 10, 15 years to plan and get funding for, or you find these smart solutions that you try it and you say, you know what, we're putting this planter box out for the next month. We're going to see how it hopefully affects and slows down traffic, makes it safer. And if you like it, tell us. If you don't like it, tell us, and we can adapt. So you do the simple stuff first before you do any of the bigger road improvements. And it's just a philosophy that many cities, some really cool cities out there have gotten in the mindset of. I think Bremerton can too.
Yeah, I agree. I think that definitely the smarter. I was at first I was just about to be like, what do you mean by smarter roads? It's interesting.
Yeah,
but that's
the smarter part of it, right? Yeah. What's the latest and greatest we can do?
Yeah. Bringing the break into the psychology of it. You know what I mean? Where you're not just jumping on to like it kind of mentally makes you want to slow down. Like I know as a kid, there is this one road that's by and it's a hill, it's a big hill over there by where the mattress factory, over by where it's on the east side, over by what is that, KFC, where KFC used to be.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm not gonna lie, we would boom down that hill, man. It was like I didn't do it. This the person that was driving that did it. I ain't trying to say that, Mom, but just saying, it was the person that was driving that took us down. It was like a roller coaster. I'm not gonna lie. I think it was so much fun, but it was so dangerous, because it wasn't safe to be doing that. So I get it, like having that where you feel like you see this and it's like that you got to calm it down and slow down is a very good idea.
Yeah.
To really help with we do need that big time in Bremerton because people, again, I'm born and raised out here. Like they love to race, they love to quietly race, and so having more of that will make it easier for everybody to have their safety for that. Jewel, hey, what up, Jewel? I know Jewel. How you doing, Jewel? She says, how do you envision working with the cultural nonprofits and organizations, some of which that feel disenfranchised with the city of Bremerton?
Great question. This goes back to the amazing thing about Bremerton is we do have so many local nonprofits here, and again, just cultural organizations in general. So I think I over 5 years in a volunteer capacity served as executive director for the History Museum. Right down on downtown on 4th Street. So absolutely, I see these gems that bring our community together. So on the city side, what I would like to do as mayor is make sure that they are working closely with our departments that tie into them. So one example is Parks. Parks does a lot of the city programming. And that's an area where there's God, we need more money for parks desperately. and we can get to a whole other conversation on why parks is always kind of last on the funding. But the great thing about parks is you can get a lot of volunteers. And so I would love to see our cultural organizations working closely with Parks for Programming so that we can have these organizations present and have space at our, for example, rec center. Like we have Sheridan that has a whole gym, it has meeting rooms. That's a place that we could make either free or very low cost for organizations to be able to use and host events. Norm Dix. So the city does not own all of the Norm Dix Government Center. It's shared among organizations, but like the other day, I was able to be a sponsor for our local Kitsap Kids Museum that doesn't have a physical location yet. They have an amazing board. They're raising money. They'd love to have a physical location one day. They don't yet. So I was able to host them so that they could use the whole ground floor of Norm Dix for an event as well. So I'd love the city just be able to be a facilitator for those organizations. We also have what's called lodging tax dollars that can go back into local organizations to support them. And so that is on the city council side to allocate. But as mayor, I hope to work with council and make sure that we are not only helping the organizations that exist, but ones that need help to get going. So I feel like the city has a lot to offer to support these organizations and give them a platform, especially when it's really tough these days and expensive to have, physical space of your own.
Yes, I agree. Like, my mother has a nonprofit that's out there, Love Me For Me. And she's, I know it was difficult for her at times when she was starting it to get it going. But I mean, I also know that all nonprofits have a bit of a struggle going through that raising, you know what I mean? Deanna works in a nonprofit, and and she, when I was thinking about starting when she was like, "Baby, it's gonna be some work." Like, man, it's if you find the value in it, you're willing to put your best foot forward and put the extra work that goes into there.
That nonprofit life is tough, and then I also wanted to add to communication, right?
Yeah.
We now have a new, thank goodness, community engagement manager. And I would love to see a regular, at least quarterly city newsletter that relays what the city's doing, and then hopefully can also be a platform to showcase what our other cultural organizations, nonprofits are doing as well. That communication aspect, I think, is key for the city to have a lead in.
Yeah, so they said that they love your idea with right. I do really love that idea with the classes for business, and how to and they're asking, do you think this is going to be something that would be a heavy lift to implement? And I actually applaud that very much, because I've told many of my clients that are out here, and I'm like, hey, look. That's one of my favorite ones, is that there is a way to actually get the education that it takes. Like, when I first started my business, I did not have a lot of the information that I have right now. And I learned over time, and it took years to get to this point of knowing this. Had this been something that was just kind of like right there and available, it would have been so much better. To be able to just be able to have this, to know that I can go to my city and say, I was, like with my first building, I need to check and make sure everything's good to go, and find before I go and sign things. And I didn't have that, and I went through, thousands of dollars that I went through, from my own personal savings and my own hard work for getting it done, to make this happen, and to find out that that place was not even up to code to where I was needing it, and I was just I paid into it. So I agree, with that.
And that's where, so I think for the pure city side, it's getting rid of that red tape. It's making sure that folks can open businesses and that it's really clear on what's needed, right, as we talked about. On the education side, this is where I think we work with our nonprofit partners and other experts. So Kitsap Community Resources has something called the BEST program. And I love it's BES with $T. It's all about small business education. And in addition to just anyone, they also have a focus, especially on BIPOC communities, and they started a new Spanish language option this year, which is fantastic. And so I just finished serving on the Community Development Block Grant Review Committee, It was pretty much all citizen led. I was the council liaison. And there's an example where we were able to fund that program, and the city's been funding that program. And so I'd love to see that expanded, right? If we can get extra funds in the hands of experts who teach business classes, I think that's the way to do it. And no one's perfect out there, right? I know there's other, I'm sure, business education, but we also communicate that and we say, hey, thinking of starting a small business in Bremerton. All right, on the city side, here's the checklist to hopefully get through codes and permits and building stuff, easy peasy. And over here, oh, here's a list of resources. Here's the best program. Here's another business training. Here's maybe something from Western Washington or our local Olympic College on classes to help start a business. Here's resources from the state. So that we just make it easy. The city knows all those resources. We make that easy to access.
There's also like even the libraries of people that may not know that. So local libraries that I know that if you happen to have a King County, like my business is in Seattle. It's coming back. It's coming back. It's coming back. It's in Seattle. But when I got my education on this, it was we were taught that the local libraries, especially our bigger ones, they have a lot of access to business information to help you get things started. Like checking what is the more average amount that people tend to spend on certain things, on certain products, certain services, how much they tend to make, what are the places that are more populated. These are all things that our state and our city actually does go and find out. And just like in King County, they have a really huge list for that, but they're also our local one, that Kitsap County's library has these same availabilities. If you just go and tap in, things like that will be a huge.
Those partnerships are key. Yeah, we have an amazing library system.
Yeah.
Here's an example from Spokane, Washington. I was at a conference out there. They partnered between the city, their local library, and the school district. And so they used city land. City had some vacant land that they were able to basically donate for free. The library system built a new library that they needed, and they did it in conjunction with the school district. So that library is actually attached to the local middle school. And so what's so cool is there is this little divider in the big space in the middle of the library, and that divider is down during the school day. And so that half the library is used for the school kids. They're able to use it. And then essentially when class gets out, the divider goes up, the school's blocked off, and it's an open public library for everybody. And the kids can stay in the library, do homework, public's there. And so it's a great resource for the kids, but it's also, public library. And they were able to save a lot of cost on it and have joint programming. And so that kind of partnership where you're getting multiple organizations at the table, you can bring down costs, get more people using the space. And I'd love to just see the city partnering with our local organizations a lot more.
I agree, man. It's definitely getting our kids more educated on business. That is a big thing. All right, Deanne, hey, parking commutes. Sorry, y'all, it's not like but hey, parking commutes tend to be a challenge downtown and near the ferry terminal. Is there a plan to address the parking availability and management for both residents and visitors?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me too. Dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like the joke. Parking, never heard this one before, right? It is a serious issue. It's also one where, from a history museum side, there were little headlines from 100 years ago about lack of parking in downtown Bremerton. And I think this is something every downtown will face is parking, because there's always gonna be limited parking, right? What I don't want is a downtown that's all surface parking lots.
Yeah.
Right. That means you don't have a vibrant space with small businesses that you can walk and have the community. So got to acknowledge that. But here's how I see it, which is we have our Navy partners right next door. Again, I mentioned stability, lots of jobs, okay, helpful economy. But yes, there are still a lot, because the shipyard and the Navy have not provided enough parking for all of their workers, and they have not met the needs of their own workers completely, then there is a lot of spillover into our downtown and other areas of the city, where folks who work at the shipyard are forced to park downtown because the Navy hasn't, provided adequate either parking or worker driver shuttles or enough public transit. So that's, in my view, the key goal of our local parking enforcement, is to make sure that our local parking downtown is for small businesses and people visiting them, people visiting the city, and being able to access our downtown. Ferry terminal is part of that, right? Folks want to be able to use the ferry to get to Seattle or other places, and not just for fun. People that's a lifeline for people who are getting medical treatment, either maybe going to work, getting services they need. So where I come down to is we have our several city-owned parking garages. I think we need to do a better job advertising and using some more modern technology to show when it is available, when there are spots, because what I'm told is, despite, on rare occasions, they are literally completely filled up, but most of the time there are still spots in there.
Wow.
And so I think we need to do a better job communicating that they're open, making it easier to reserve spots ahead of time. Also, I would love it to see us have free parking on the weekends, right? It's really that Monday through Friday, 7 to 4 is really the peak times when we see shipyard congestion. I think and right now we do have free parking after 5 p.m. and we need to also advertise that more.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it free on weekends so people know, hey, I can come downtown, I can park, and I can shop at local businesses. And then, I think it's mostly the advertising. But if there's a solution in the future, what I'm open to is if there is a win-win where we're able to get rid of a bunch of our surface parking lots. Most of them, they're not city owned, it's private owned, but we're able to get rid of a bunch of the private owned city parking lots and, build another garage if we need it. Great. That to me means that we have allocated less square foot to parking downtown, but we've increased, the amount of parking needed. And that said, also, we need to make it easy to take transit downtown too. So park and rides are a great solution. I'm fortunate enough, it's about a 20-minute walk from my house to the ferry, but if we have to do the airport, we'll do that. We'll leave the house 20 minutes early, walk all the way down to the ferry and take that over to the light rail, take that to the airport, go off. I'd love to see it a lot easier for there to be parking lots outside our downtown, people can park at and then take shuttles right down to the ferry terminal too. And I think we could do this with working with Kids Up Transit, which is mayor, I would serve on the board of Kids Up Transit, really continue to work on what are cyclic buses, buses that run regular routes like that. So they're going out to the parking lots, they're coming down to the ferry terminal, out to the parking lots, down to the ferry terminal, and especially at peak hours, so that you just kind of know, hey, yep, I can park over here. It's not too expensive. I know I can hop on a little transit bus that'll get me downtown.
Yeah, I think I suggested that we should do an episode where we just go on a ride on the transit buses.
Oh yeah, I know some transit bus drivers that would love to do that. Yeah, they're also going to point out, they're going to be like, you see the potholes here. Yeah, I've talked to them.
Let's do it.
They know our roads better than almost everyone.
Oh yes, because they're on it.
They drive it all the time.
Yeah, I would love to see something better in front of my apartment. All right, so we have Chris. What's up, Chris? We've heard concerns about safety, especially in certain areas. Now we keep our people. How do we keep our people safe and not over police at the same time?
Great question.
I'm curious from what areas, Chris, if you could put that in the chat. What areas specifically maybe you would see.
And from about over 6,000 doors now, I've heard it kind of across the city. Obviously, more downtown, more concerns, but I find it to be really a concern across most areas.
Yeah.
And here's how I see it is we have not kept up per capita with the number of police officers to hire. So we just finished our 20-year plan for the city. So every 10 years, every city in Washington has to plan for the next 20, right? What are you going to do to keep up with growing utilities, growing people, infrastructure, and part of that is also, fire and police. And so I looked at our plan that was passed 10 years ago, and it said, oh yeah, we should be hiring this many officers given our population. And we haven't been there. So now we're passing this plan again that says, yeah, we need to be this many officers, and it hasn't actually changed. So I like to joke that you're required to make a plan. There's no requirement in the state you actually do it. That's what I'll see. So we do need more officers. That is something I'm in support of, but I want to see officers that are working really hand in hand with the community. So I want to bring back full-time things like the bike patrol, especially for downtown, that is something that have found universally beloved, where you have officers on bikes, they're approachable. You can walk up and talk to them. They can bike over, talk to you. They can just kind of patrol and keep an eye on the situation. That is friendly, as well as just plain old, walking around, especially things like First Friday and events downtown. I want to see them more things like our local farmers market. I've seen Port Orchard do this, where at their farmers market, they'll have both police and fire have their own booths. And this is a way that community members can walk up and get to know them, talk about concerns, and really what this is, I think, is about building trust. It's building trust between our law enforcement, our emergency services, and members of the community. Because we've obviously seen some of the horrific things that have happened in other cities, and had a whole national conversation on that for not only decades, but especially since George Floyd, right?
Yeah.
We never want that to happen in Bremerton, not on my watch. But that said, right, we have some really good officers in the city, and I know we want them focused on all the latest de-escalation techniques. It's why I've supported, behavioral health navigators within our police force, making sure we have body cameras, making sure that folks are really held to the higher standard and the highest accountability. But to do that too, we also need to fund them at a level that allows them to meet that.
I agree. I was also thinking, like, on a follow-up, like, how would you be, what ideas do you have to maybe, as we said, smarter streets, right? How can we, and we are, our country the world is becoming much more tech-driven. We can all clearly agree to that. We have from AI, from drones, and also robotics that are out there. Are there some ways that is there a way that we can implement or implement that into our law enforcement, to help with the law enforcement, help with the emergency services, to giving, again, not having to put so many, people in harm's way, or being able to put people on, like, connecting community.
Gotcha.
With that,
you know what I mean? Yeah. And let's talk about, in these days of really limited dollars, where everything is costing more, that includes personnel and salaries, right? What can we do that's smart? So for safety, I think a big one is lighting, right? Lighting downtown, lighting in our parks, lighting really helps with a lot of situations, even lighting in our alleyways. So that is what I would say is a cheap lift to help. Also, the more I feel like we increase the vibrancy of downtown and in Charleston and other areas, the more that you have people out and about just shopping at small businesses, it creates a safer environment. It's a reason I've been such a fan of the outdoor eateries, the streeteries, because at night, for example, downtown, you have people not just inside, but they're out at the tables on the street, talking and visibility. And so that, I think, creates not only more welcoming downtown and other areas, but also a safer one. And then, I think you kind of alluded to it, like communication, right? Faster response times, local training of folks of how to help. There's certainly a lot of neighborhood, watches in the city, but even closer communication between our police department and neighborhood groups. And so that folks are knowledgeable about, when to call something, when not to call something. They know how to de-escalate a situation should it be necessary. They know, our neighbors know things like, these are our mental health helplines. This is the numbers you can call to get someone help if they need it. That's the type of communication we as a city can absolutely help with more.
I appreciate to hear that answer, man. Because I think that it's inevitable that tech is here, right? It's inevitable that it's going to be integrated into our lives, and I feel like if there's a way that we can do that smartly now before Uncle Sam does,
Well, I'll say we do have a good app called Bremerton One.
Okay.
So now it's like tell people too, because the apps tend to come and go from the App Store, both Apple and Android.
Yeah.
I like to say there is a website that works on mobile, works on your computer. There's also a good old fashioned phone number if you want to call, or an email. So this goes to our public works center, but it can be used for everything in the city. And so I think we need to continue to educate people that we have this service. So if you come across anything from abandoned garbage or what looks like, a pothole, or just an unsafe situation, something you just want someone in the city to check out, you can actually use that now to report it. And so I'd love to see us advertise that more, get folks even more comfortable using it, because we do have some awesome employees that can be really responsive to needs they see them. Yeah.
Shoot it to me, man.
Good, yeah.
Mary, how you doing, Mary?
Hey, Mary.
She says, during the campaign, you talked about collaboration. Can you share an example of when you worked together to do this? A little confused with that question, but I think I know what you're saying.
That makes sense. Like what have I collaborated? Yeah.
Okay. No, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I was reading it right, Mary.
No, on several years now on council, I'd like to say there's a reason why majority folks on council are endorsing me, and not a single council member is publicly endorsing the current mayor, and that is the collaboration. There have been, a number of issues from budgets to public safety measures to street programs, where I've worked with other council members to, figure out where are the majority of us at, how can we get something passed, and this has been not only for budget tweaks and some different laws and ordinances we passed. But yeah, I think back also to some of the safe streets things too. We pushed for it, right? It's been waiting on administration and staff, but as a council, we've spoken one voice. One I like to talk about too. I almost sound silly because it's so small, but it made a big difference in the community. Is over in Manette. There is now a drinking fountain in Waddy Domstead Park off to the side. And so this was a dream, and it was led by the local residents and Manette Business Association over there that wanted to get a drinking fountain installed, because there wasn't one over there in that park. And so
that's the one that's right off of the
yeah, it's like right around to the side.
Yeah, it's right in the
center,
right next to the
okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so for years, the Manette Business Coalition had the idea. They raised money. They did a lot of the legwork, and so then they hit an impasse with the city on trying to get the fountain installed. And so I worked with the Manette Business Association. I worked with our current Parks Director, Public Works Director. Basically said, hey, how can we get this done and get this installed? Then it was kind of funny because they said, oh, okay, we worked on where it could go, and then Park said, okay, we've ordered the fountain, and I was like, wait, you ordered it? Wait, was it? And show me which one you got. And it was not the fountain that the NBA had raised for. So again, worked with them, got them at the table. We were able to order the right fountain, get it installed in the location. And so a lot of it is it's just meetings and talking. But it's saying, hey, we're all on board, right? We want this fountain. What are the impacts? You got to figure out where it could go. You got to figure out how you can tie it in. You got to figure out where the money's coming from. Yeah.
Okay. So it's all about what I'm hearing.
Right.
Like it's all about
or look at the hopefully the shelter. That is requiring where I've attended weekly meetings for a year and a half with city. Me as the only city person there, unfortunately. I wish we'd had more city representation, but it's been me, the county, and our nonprofit partners working on that coalition. And again, because of their work in facilitating, they now have about $8 million to get that hybrid shelter built.
That's really dope.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good, I'm
so everything from
good
big things, right? Yeah. Big things like shelter to little things like fountains.
Yeah. So from fountains to shelters, there's been collaboration with the city leaders, with the community leaders, and as well as business leaders that are out there as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So Lacey, what's up, Lacey? How you doing? She says you sent out a controversial flyer. Can you talk about why you did this and what it means? Can you be a little more elaborate? Can you elaborate a little more?
I know what she's talking about.
I want to make sure that it's asked, like that we figure out what. Yes,
I know what you're referring to, Lacey. No, I'm absolutely glad you asked it. Right. So the flyer that went out was one that highlighted the current mayor's actions back in early February.
Okay.
Right. So we have been trying to hire a diversity and communication manager for years. So the city council approved it when they went through the budget cycle in the fall of 2022. We got it approved. So that position was budgeted at the start of 2023. The mayor is the one who has to hire personnel, right? So this was a position that we budgeted and saw successful examples in other city where it wasn't something that was squirreled away under human resources. It was a direct report to the mayor in the executive office. So that's how the position was budgeted. that was able to start beginning of 2023. Now, you can't within a day hire somebody, but it shouldn't take more than a few months to get the job description written up, approved, posted, start the hiring process. Took the current mayor over 2 years to get this position hired.
Wow.
So that kind of tells me about priorities, right?
Yeah.
On getting through this. Then a job offer was made, and then Trump came into office. And so right there at the end of January, February, he had this anti-DEI executive order that said, oh, I'm going to withhold your duly obligated federal funds that your city has already been awarded. And I'm gonna unilaterally say, I'm withholding those funds. No, you can't build your roads and your streets if you have anything that has to do with diversity, right?
That's crazy.
And it was clearly, it was a nutty executive order. And we knew it was never going to stand up. So what the current mayor did is within 24 hours, he rescinded the hiring offer to this person who was coming into the city. He also publicly said he was halting all DI programs in the city, 2 different public forums. Didn't notify council about it. So I had to read about it as a headline in the Kitsap Sun almost a week later, that he had made this decision unilaterally. And that's what this flyer highlighted, that the mayor instantly and without talking to anyone caved to a nutty executive order. And you know what? We were the only city in Washington where that happened. He was the only mayor in the entire state of Washington to do that. Not only that, but no other county even did it. So the only public entity in Washington that did that. To me, it was embarrassing.
That's crazy.
It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And it needed to be called out.
Yeah.
Because we are going to be facing more of this over the next 3 years, right? We're seeing it escalate. Things are not going to get better anytime soon. That's the unfortunate reality of it. So what I want to point out is this is a current mayor who is capitulating within 24 hours, is making bad snap calls that didn't even protect anything in the city, right?
Yeah.
To me, it was an excuse not to hire somebody who we didn't want in the first place. That's how I've seen it. That's how many people in the community have seen it. So in contrast, I was finance chair, right? So this was brought to us at the same time by our current finance director, who said, hey, just so you know, the executive order came out. As chair of finance, and me and the other council members asked, and we said, okay, are any funds in immediate jeopardy? The answer was no, right? Is there any action we take right now that guarantees that we keep these federal funds? No, then we're not backing down.
Yeah.
We're not backing down.
Yeah.
We're going to put up a fight. And that's what, thanks to council, that's what happened, is we worked with our legal department. We were able to file, join together with other cities across Washington and Oregon, file a class action lawsuit against the federal government, and we got an injunction. So that federal order is basically, it's been not fully stricken down, but it is essentially paused. So we're still getting our federal funds.
Yeah.
We're keeping our program. And it took about a month, but a lot of public pressure went back on the mayor for doing that. And because of the public pressure, he re-extended the hiring offer to the same person. So the reason he's given for doing it, which has changed several times. But one of the reasons was, oh, I didn't want this person to move out here and then maybe not have a job. You know what I say? I've hired a good number of people in my life now. This person was coming from a background in diversity and inclusion. They knew the federal environment. They are smart. They know what's going on. What you do is you extend the offer, and you can say, hey, things are changing rapidly in these times, right? But you treat them like an adult. You let them make the decision. So thankfully, this person had already decided anyway to move to Washington from the state they were coming from. And luckily, we're able to still hire them. But that's what that flyer was about. It was showing that we currently have a mayor who will not stand up for Bremerton. And you saw this again in a recent Legal One voters debate, where the question was asked to both of us, and it said, as mayor, what would you do about ICE raids in Bremerton? And the current mayor, I'm sorry, he had no response. He basically said, I'm going to try and quote as close as I can, do you mean would I issue like a statement or a proclamation? And to me, that was so disheartening, because it means that we need to be prepared. We need to be working with our local police department, law enforcement. We need to be prepared on a city response. We need to make sure that we are not going to have our police officers working with ICE. And there's luckily even a state law against it. There should be a simple and quick answer, which is no, we will not work with ICE on this. We will stand up for all our neighbors in Bremerton. And so it's why I'm running. And I had to point that out, because like I said,
Because we wouldn't have known.
Yeah, and
because we wouldn't have known.
Yeah,
like I didn't know. If I had known that there was some that our mayor was saying to take it, was agreeing and just caving in with the DEI dismantling quota, that that I these are my words, Commander and Cheeto is up there is doing. That's no, that's not okay, because there are a lot of people that there was a famous general, and he was in the Air Force. He's in the Air Force. He's a famous general, and he said he was asked. This is like in 1970 something. He was asked on air, do you believe that you were given this job just because you were Black? And I'm paraphrasing the quote, but he was like, do you believe that the host said, do you believe that you were given this job just because you were Black? And that's what was he. He said this is what he was asked, and he told that person, he said this diminished in one sentence all of the years, all the hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and flying over unfriendlier skies than even here to get these credentials, just to hear that somebody says that they gave this to me just because I'm Black. That doesn't happen. Or just because they're trans, or just because they're gay, just because they're white, just because they're any of the cultures or orientations that you decide to be should not be a reason that you are separated from a job that is available, that you are qualified.
Yeah, and it's about acknowledging that there are barriers, right? Yeah, qualified person, but there's also barriers, right? There's barriers, there's systemic barriers that we can't pretend don't exist.
Yeah.
Right? Progress has been made in our country over the years, but there's still a lot of work to go.
Yeah.
And that's where, I am gay. My husband is BIPOC. Our child is the son of a Cuban immigrant. That's why this is really personal to me too.
Yeah.
And in Bremerton, we are the
largest.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying.
Yeah. Right? Like, we are the largest, most diverse city in the peninsula, right? We have a large immigrant population. Bremerton is a melting pot, and we need to embrace that. And we need a mayor who's going to stand up for that. A mayor is not going to back down immediately, but is going to have a spine and say, no, I'm standing up for the people of Bremerton. No, you can't walk all over me. No, I'm not going to instantly comply. Yeah. And I think a mayor who truly believes it, right? Yeah. I see programs for diversity, equity, and inclusion. I see this position of our diversity and communication manager as something that can help the city run more efficiently, right? This is not only about doing what's right, it's also that when you have this great diversity and communication engagement manager that are working with all of our department heads, they are making sure that community is engaged, that people are included, that we're getting all voices at the table. And when you do that, you do public works projects correctly the first time, you don't have to redo them, right? You get better input into all functions of city government, you get better input into how to start a small business, how to communicate more effectively. So you make your local government also run more efficiently and save taxpayer dollars. Yeah. Right. It's something I really believe in, that organizations, communities, and cities that have embraced this are not only doing the right thing, they're not only standing up for people in their city, they're not only doing historical justice, they're making a better local government.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. That's the big one. Bree, what's up? Welcome into the chat.
Hey, Bree.
Says, everything. No, you ain't lying about this one. Everything in Bremerton is too expensive. How do you plan to reduce the cost of living and housing?
Yes. Yeah. No, it's every door now. It's everyone's feeling it, right? Probably back. Well, okay, maybe if you're Jeff Bezos. No. Bill Gates, you're not feeling it as much, right? I'm feeling it.
Oh, Vashon.
Yeah. Love my colleagues in Bainbridge, but Bainbridge ain't feeling it as hard as folks in Bremerton.
Nah, well, there's some people out there, because I know these listeners should be like, excuse me, but baby, you're right, you're dealing with it.
Yeah. So,
go ahead.
For buying stuff, cost of, salaries, all that, of course, not city level, but housing. Housing is absolutely something the city can help with. And my plan for housing is, step one, we need to fix our permitting. There was a state bill that came out a few years ago that required jurisdictions to publish the statistics on their permitting processes. And so, I'm a scientist, not only at heart, but a background, right? I love the data. And so when you look at the data, you see that about 2/3 of our housing permits are taking longer than what the state says they should. Like this is the state maximum, 2/3 of ours are above it. Talking to local builders, it can take longer to get a permit for a house than to build one.
Wow.
Right? That so that is where the city is slowing down. Like we need more housing, but we also need housing that working families can afford, right?
Yes.
We don't need, more condo buildings. We don't need necessarily a lot of, single family sprawling homes, suburbia type, right? We need, smaller but affordable, nice units.
Yes.
And so that's what I want to see encouraged in the city, and to do it in a way that again, we're not doing the Silverdale type, we're gonna just sprawl out with these cookie cutter housing developments. I grew up in the Southwest, man. I go back and I'm like, oh God, I hate it, right? Bremerton we still have our community.
Yeah.
And so doing smart things, for example, back to the collaboration. As soon as I got on council, I'd come from planning commission. We were talking about what's called accessory dwelling units, ADUs, mother-in-law type apartments. Smart ways to fit in extra housing and rooms where you already have houses. And that's where Paulsbo really took the lead. And it was Paulsbo's Department of Community Development that really brought to fruition these pre-permitted streamlined ADUs. So now if you're somebody who has maybe some backyard space, or you have an old garage that you want to replace, you can now, thanks to countywide collaboration, get a pre-permitted design and basically say, oh yeah, that design right here, that'll fit on my lot. I want to get that built. The next step is making sure that folks have financing to do it, because this may surprise you, but not everyone has an extra, 100 grand lying around to actually build a mini house on their current house, right?
No.
So that's the next step that hasn't happened yet, where we need to work with folks like Kids Up Credit Union, Kids Up Bank, other local lenders, maybe federal credit, to get low interest loans for folks to be able to do that. And then they could build something on their house, either for their family or to be able to rent out to somebody. And so, yeah, it may be 500, 600 square feet, but it'd be a new livable unit that could be rented at a low cost.
That's a great plan, man. To give people an opportunity to get off these expensive housing and living that's out there, because it's difficult. We come from a different time frame. Like if you're from out here and been out here for so long, you definitely remember the times when it was a cheaper time in what it is now. And I'm 100% backing that we need to find a way to scale this or give a cap of some sort that we can't expect that, okay, that today it's going to be 800, tomorrow it's going to be not or 1,200, and then a year from now it's going to be 2,000. In order, just because it's like waiting for it to be evicted. So
and then like I also want to add on too, like, so that's as a city creating just extra housing supply. And again, not expensive luxury condos, but things working families can afford. And then also working with, again, those nonprofit partners who do subsidized housing, right? Who help folks with transitional housing, making sure as a city we are supporting, working closely with them.
Right on. It looks like that was our last question, Jeff. I'm looking at the chat. I'm not seeing anything. So, election's coming up on Tuesday. So what would you say for everybody? What's your words out there for everybody that's tuned in?
Vote. Honestly, I'm like, please vote. Even if it's not for me, I want you to vote. I would, oh God, it's depressing sometimes to see the turnout right around 30%. I mean, 30% of eligible voters voted. We can do a lot better than that. And I know it's frustrating at times, because I know folks feel disenfranchised, right? Oh, why is my vote really going to matter?
Yeah.
And I know the national level right now, right? The local level is where your vote truly matters. We have local elections that are literally decided sometimes by 5 to 10 votes. That has happened numerous times in Bremerton. So this is a case where if you don't think your vote matters, your vote locally super duper matters. And in general, it's the only way things get better, right? And as I say, I'm gonna confess to you, I'm not a perfect person, right? Right? Hey, I'm not perfect. I think I can do an awesome job, move the city forward. I'm not doing it to be there for the next 20 years. I'm doing it to set the city up for future success, to do it so my little one Max grows up in a city that is doing the latest and greatest. And I want to pass the torch, right? I want to make sure that I am setting up so that we can hand the baton on to the next person.
Yeah.
That we are working collaboratively, that we are setting up for the next generation to come in.
Yeah.
And that's how things get better. It doesn't happen overnight, but it happens by consistently showing up, by casting your vote, by being involved in your community, and being consistent about it. And that's why the voting really matters, especially at this local level. So I also want to get across for folks. Yeah, deadline is if you already have a ballot and you haven't filled it out, get it in a ballot drop box by 8 o'clock Tuesday. The earlier the better. There's a ballot drop box at Norm Dix downtown. There's one at Marvin Williams Center. I believe Sylvan Way Library. You can go on the county website. There's a list of all the ones there. And the great thing too is if you either lost your ballot or you didn't get one, or maybe you're not registered yet. Even though we do vote by mail, we still have in-person voting here.
Yeah.
So Marvin Williams Center is open tomorrow on Monday. And I don't give the wrong hours, but they're open for a good chunk of tomorrow. Okay. And they're open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday as well. And so you can walk in and say, I don't know if I'm registered or not. They will get you registered. They will get you a ballot. And also for folks who need help filling out a ballot, I think of our adults with disabilities community, other folks, they'll also help you. So obviously they won't tell you who to vote for, as they should.
Yeah.
But if you need help with accessibility, you need help reading the voters pamphlet, you need help making sure you're filling in that you want to fill in, they'll help you too. So that's a big kudos to all those community volunteers that help out with our elections.
You know, it looks like this will also be posted on the campaign website as well. So if you guys are looking for that, for sure, make sure you go there. And I'm gonna say out to my community, the Black community, all right, let's step up, okay? There's no reason for us to now hear these kind of actions and these kind of answers and the availability that is clearly here. When is the last time that we've seen this kind of availability for us to be able to speak to a mayor that is looking to, a person looking to become the mayor, and perhaps even, my God, the person that would be the mayor, okay? We have to step up and we have to say that this is the time that we show our voice. We know that in the last election, okay, in the big one that was up there in this country, a lot of us stepped out. I'm not gonna lie, I was one that stepped out and said no, because there was just too much that we had to be held, there had too many stipulations that we were held to. And we felt like truly our vote didn't matter. But guess what? It definitely does. I 100% believe, this is by far the first time that I 100% believe that our vote and others in our communities and our brothers and sisters in the other communities that are out there looking to see that their vote counts, this is the time to step up. If you want to see change and you really want to see change, this is the time to do it. No more sitting back and crybabying it about you can't, well, we can't, well, this is, well, we were, no. This is our opportunity to step up and do what they told us to do. Pick ourselves up by our own bootstraps. Feel me? This has been a wonderful time, Jeff. I'm telling you, man.
Appreciate you.
Big time. By far, you guys, this is the guy to vote for. You haven't figured it out, then I'm just going to tell you to go ahead and do the math yourself. All right? But again, this is Joe the Barber. What's Cracking Kitsap. This is Jeff Coughlin, who will hopefully be the new mayor of Bremerton. All right.
Thanks everybody for showing up, for asking questions. And
please,
if I get elected over 4 years, that won't change. Show up, keep asking me hard questions. And I know we can work together to find the right answers.
You're damn right I will.